Hello and welcome to the 25th episode of the Rangers Gameplan podcast, where we discuss the week that was the New York Rangers. And we're back in a good week to discuss. This has been a great month of February, but the past week, they go 3-0. They continue this winning streak that's now at 7 games, including a kind of surreal game yesterday, outdoors in MetLife against the Islanders.
Yeah, I was there. It was very, very cold. Very, very cold. But they've won 7 in a row now,
I believe it's 7 in
right?
a row.
7? Yeah, so safe to say we're definitely back. I think the last time we talked was before the Calgary game, I
Yes.
believe.
Yeah, we were discussing the
Um,
Chicago mess.
yes, yes. So I want to start off by saying I'm very, very happy that I know we both asked for them to start Igor against Calgary.
Yep.
And he was outstanding in that one. I mean, he made a lot of great saves. I don't want to say it's the best I've ever seen him play because I don't think that's true. Um, but that was huge for him. I mean, he tried to score a goal at one point too, which I think it speaks volumes to his confidence.
I think I can say that it was the best game of this season for him, without a doubt. But it was a great game for him in general. And it wasn't that the Rangers got to this massive lead and then he was able to just kind of kick his feet up and make some saves. Like, he had to defend the lead till the very end of it. And then just said, I'm going to take the shot, which I think it was tipped during the shot. And I just, one day, one goddamn day,
He's gonna get one of these days. It's just not when we're gonna expect it. Like it's gonna happen. It's just gonna be on the most random game possible.
was this the fourth shot he's taken on an empty net? Like, he is,
It seems like it, yeah.
which I think is wild because I've only ever seen, and granted, I'm not watching other teams, I've only ever seen shots from goalies that make the empty net. I'm not familiar with a lot that just take shots. I think I've seen one maybe of Saros trying to shoot on an empty net and missing. But, like, I've never seen someone shoot with the regularity of Shesterkin and not hit it.
Yeah. I think the closest he's ever gotten was one of the games against Ottawa. In Ottawa, I
Oh.
remember that. He was so close to that one. Um, when he does get it, I'm gonna absolutely erupt though.
Oh my
Like
god.
I would have loved it to be against Calgary, especially with the shutout included. But he just keeps going for them, and I think he just gets on these streaks where he's unbelievably confident. And if the other team has an empty net, he's just gonna go for it. So he's gonna get one eventually.
Hypothetically, I'll use the Calgary game as an example. If there's a game that plays out virtually identical to that, where they have a 1-goal lead, he shoots on the net, he scores a goal, do you think he then allows a goal so he can have the game-winning goal? Or
I really don't think so. I wouldn't put it past him necessarily, but I think like for him to do that, I think the Rangers would have to be on like a ridiculous high. Like if they won like 18 in a row and it was like the 19th game, I think he might. But like that is the only circumstance I could see.
because, like, I don't believe a goaltender has ever been credited with a game-winning goal, because obviously, how would that be possible? But, like, uh, the Calgary game was a very interesting one. I think that you could continue to see the first line and second line waking up. I think it's wild that somehow the people that scored in that game were Will Cully and Jimmy Vesey, and Vesey's was an empty netter. Like, that game felt good. The offense didn't look bad, despite the fact that they had one even strength goal in the entire game that wasn't at the end when it was meaningless. But Shesterkin just out of his mind. The offense had some bright spots, and they showed the bright spots because then they put up 7 against Montreal, and oh boy.
Yeah, I guess to touch off on the Calgary game, I want to say that I was definitely really impressed because going into it, I was a little scared just because Calgary has been playing really, really well despite their issues, throughout the year. Going into that, I think they won a good amount in a row, and they were
Yeah.
they were definitely buzzing. So
They
it
started
was
trading
pretty.
players and then they got better somehow, which is
Yeah.
weird.
It was definitely back and forth for a lot of the game. I think the Rangers probably could have won like 6-0, but Markstrom was unbelievable. I mean, he had me jumping out of my seat for a lot of those saves. So he was ridiculous. I think it's just that we even said it before the game. Like if they won against Calgary, then then we're back
Oh, easily.
officially. Montreal, yeah, I was obviously they gave up 4 goals, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
4. So that's not exactly what you want, but I feel like that was a game where you kind of had a lot of guys score that you really wanted. Like I know Mika got one, Cooley was in there, I believe Laugh got one if I'm not mistaken. I think.
Mika got one. Kreider had a hat trick. Coley had one. Trocheck had one, and Kako had one.
Or it was Kako. Yeah, I feel like every game this season it like feels like Laugh has scored just because he gets like 9 grade A chances
Oh
every
my
game. So
god.
I was just a guess. But yeah, those guys. I mean, Kreider with the hat trick's huge. It seems like Mika Zibanejad's finally finding it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Stadium Series in a bit, but it specifically in that game. I mean, even in Calgary too, he looks way more confident now. And I mean, we always kind of scream at him to just shoot himself out of a slump. He's not doing that like crazy, but I mean, he's scored a couple goals in the past few games. Other than that, I think his passing vision is just back. Like,
Hmm.
he hasn't really made anything outstanding yet, but I know the one pass to Kreider, I believe, for the hat trick goal was pretty insane, and there was a few times in that game where he was, I mean, like doing spinorama passes, so that speaks volumes to him because we talked last time about how he's very, very emotional, and when he gets down on himself, he really, really gets down on himself. So I mean, we it can't be overstated how much we need this guy. So it's it's a comfortable feeling that he's kind of feeling it again. Montreal is one of those weird teams because we're so much better than them, but I feel like the games are just never easy against them for some reason.
That's what you
So
want.
yeah.
You want the worst team to make you stressed out. There's no better feeling. Thank you for that, Montreal. I obviously the groundwork was laid for Mika to wake up in the Blackhawks game when he had the OT winner, but he looked so unhappy when he scored it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so it felt like, all right, this isn't when he actually starts to come back. It's going to be in the future here. The one timer against Montreal, if I had to pinpoint it, is the moment that he finally, like, all right, he found it. He is back. Then he had that ridiculous pass to Kreider, like chipping it over a player to get it to him for the hat trick, which was one of the most disgusting passes I've ever watched Mika Zibanejad do. Like
Mhm.
that was an unbelievable assist. Trocheck in the second line continue to cook. There's nothing shocking there. Kako in the third
Mhm.
line, out of the All-Star break, might be the revolution, to be quite honest. Coley's looked great out of the All-Star break. Kako's had some good moments. And Brodzinski has also looked really surprisingly good out of the All-Star break. Which,
Oh yeah. Yeah, for
I'm not
sure.
saying that it's imperative, like, oh, you have to have players that are scoring and the second line has to score at this unbelievable clip. Having them be a threat, because they've also looked fine in their own end. Like, I've not thought of Kako, Cooley, or Brodzinski as an issue in the defensive zone all season.
Mhm.
Having them look comfortable in the other zone and push pressure there, even if when you get to the playoffs they're not scoring a ton of goals, if they're just keeping pressure in the other end, that's all you need out of a third line. And if they can cash in with some goals, that's going to be great. I think, honestly, that entire third line could be the X factor for the playoffs, though, because they're scoring annoying goals. And,
Mhm.
I mean, Will Coley is just straight up not a child. He is not a rookie. I refuse to believe this.
Yeah, yeah.
He's he has played like the most irritating veteran this entire season, and like, by God, I'm not gonna say something ridiculous like, oh, he's gonna lead them in scoring in the playoffs. Will Coley, I think, is gonna finish maybe in the top 5 of forwards in scoring in the playoffs. If I had to make a bold guess right now, he looks good, and by God, is he just going to be an asshole come May? And I am
Yeah.
very eager to see how he does.
Yeah, he's definitely. I mean, his play style is very translatable to the NHL. That's kind of a difficult thing when you talk about a lot of prospects. Like, yeah, they might score 80 goals for the U.S. development team, but they come here and they can't really do anything because they don't have any of those intangibles and the other aspects of their game. Will Cooley, there's what you see is what you get with him. I know it's corny and cliche to talk about grit and sandpaper and everything like that, but I do feel like he
Gerard
embodies that
Gallant has
more.
entered the chat.
more than even anyone that we brought in to try to give us that. I think he's done a better job than a lot of those guys. To talk about Brodzinski, I know I've said it a few times, but this is a guy. I mean, he was a captain of Hartford. He leads the AHL in scoring every single time he plays down there. Like, it's not like this is just a random call up that happened to work out. Like, this is a guy with pretty high upside. And I'm not really concerned about him, I guess, being detrimental to the team. I mean, he's not a super young guy. He's, like I said, he's a captain. Um, that is huge to have on the team. I mean, it helps a lot, especially with how brutal it is to lose Filip Chytil. Obviously, I would rather Filip Chytil than Johnny Brodzinski, but I'm pretty confident as of right now that we don't have to trade for a third line center because I think we talked about it a little bit, but I'm just not confident like a guy like Adam Henrique really makes this team much better, especially over like Brodzinski. Like, I don't know how we get better with a guy like that. Um, but like you said, that whole third line is, I mean, they've been better than I even expected. Um, you would still like Kako to obviously take that next step forward. He's played great, but I feel like if they can unlock him just a little bit more, then this team gets 10 times deeper. Um, Other than that, I think my major concern as of right now is just the defense a little bit. Um, it's just coming from guys that I really don't expect it from. Like, I haven't felt all that comfortable with Adam Fox on the ice this year, and Lindgren's been pretty good, but I just feel like them as a pair definitely need to figure it out. Um, in terms of that, though, obviously we have the trade deadline coming up. I'm not really willing to trade for a defenseman other than a depth piece. Like, there's none of the 6 guys we have right now I'm willing to swap out for just about anybody that we could get at the deadline. I'm just kind of begging some of these guys to figure it out a little bit because I know Trouba has kind of dipped down a bit, and then obviously Fox is supposed to be Adam Fox, and I haven't. We've seen him make a lot of bad turnovers in probably the past 2 months. So
Yeah. I want to say one quick thing because I had to look it up because I was interested about it for Will Coley before I touch on the defense. He is 6th in the league for rookie scoring for goals. He is 2 behind Fantali, and he
okay,
is only 6 behind. Obviously, he missed time, but seeing Bedard with 16 and Will Coley with 10 is just kind of funny to look at.
yeah,
I'm not going to tell you that he is Connor Bedard. But I'm not willing to tell you. I mean, Bedard's a negative...
However,
However, that Connor Bedard fellow, a -23? Nah. That Will Cooley fella, +6? That's the shit I'm into.
yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely really, really impressed by him. I think I wasn't entirely sure how long he would be with the team. Like, I know at the beginning of the year I was excited to see what he has. He's a guy that I don't want to take out of the lineup whatsoever.
Yeah,
So
can just
it's
stay.
it's huge.
As long as Trocheck will leave him in the basement, like, he can stay there. He can stay there and stay with the team. I do not want him gone.
Yeah,
As
absolutely.
to touch on the defense, it's a strange thing because it's not in terms of center depth where the Rangers might need to go get a center or winger now because you lose Blake Wheeler, which is just so much fun to talk about. Where it's like, oh, they might need to go trade for one of those. You have your 6 defensemen. Like, you're set there. That is what it is. You're not going to take any of those 6 out of the lineup. And I don't think you're going to scare any of them by having a guy there like, oh, he's coming for you. Like, they have all, whether it be over the past 2 seasons or this season's, they've locked up a spot. They just need to figure it out. Fox has not moved me, defensively speaking. Lingrid is Ryan Lingrid, which means he's going to go take 50 dirty headshots a game and still be like a +2 by the end of the game with no shots given up on his man. Like, this is not news to anyone. Gustafsson, I've been high on all year. Schneider has looked surprisingly good all year. The top half of the 6 men defensively, which is not something I thought I'd say.
Yeah.
Trouba and Miller, I love the both of them very dearly. Yesterday was a game, it especially showed, and I have a hard time writing anyone too hard for what happened yesterday because it's a total, and I don't mean it in this negative way, that is a novelty game and it's really hard to be critical given the circumstances of it, but good God, that was one of the worst defensive games I've ever watched Trouba and Miller play as a pair. There was the shorthanded goal. There was another goal, I think it was a power play for the Isles, where Trouba's just doing nothing in front of Shesterkin and with the screen. Like, that was a bad game. But if they can just, be the players, not that we think they could be, not the, if they can take a step, if they can just play the way they often do for very long stretches, the defense is fine. I think if you're making a move defensively, it's just giving them depth for when you inevitably lose one of them in the playoffs. But I don't think it's a particular need. Like, whereas I feel center depth is a big need. And possibly winger because of the Blake Wheeler thing.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I mean, Blake Wheeler, I know he's kind of been not the favorite person in the world to this fan base, so far this year, but it's tough to lose him for the season. I know he's definitely shown some bright spots, and I know he was great in the locker room. We were already struggling on right wing as it is with him, so it's kind of just makes that a little more difficult. Especially, I mean, it sucks for him to go down like that. It was a really fluky injury. So, hopefully he can, make a strong recovery, especially at his age. I think he's like 38 now. Yeah. So, I mean, it's tough. It's regardless of what you thought of him as a player this year, it's tough for him to go through, especially, I mean, it must suck for him the game before the Stadium Series to go out. Like, I know him and his family were probably so amped up about that. So you gotta kind of, feel for him a little bit just as a person. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, obviously being on a 7-game win streak, we're kind of, back to cloud 9. The trade deadline is, I believe, in 2 weeks, maybe like 2.5 weeks or so. We will have a lot to talk about, and as rumors start swirling, I think we'll have a lot more to say. But I think specifically as of right now, and this is something I talked about a little bit before too. The past 2 years, we're literally gasping for air until the trade deadline. Like, we can't get any depth scoring. It's just, I mean, we could barely score as it is. It doesn't feel like that this year, and the third line's played a major factor in that. Just getting a little bit of production out of them is massive, because, like I said, for the past 2 years, it's like we're begging for 2-3 forwards to even feel like we're somewhat competitive. So,
yeah, I think they should go trade for Patrick Kane and Tyler Mott at the deadline. I think that's the moves you need to make to fix the Wheeler and center depth, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. I think, like you said before, it's with the defense, we can kind of rag on these guys a lot, but by no means am I even considering really trading for anybody at the deadline. And to speak about Trouba and Miller about yesterday's game, definitely not great by any means. But I just want to start off by saying, in these outdoor games, especially the way everything was yesterday, I'm not gonna deep dive like crazy into analyzing specific things that happen in the game. Like there's all types of jitters, and it's an entirely different environment. There are some things that I'm fully willing to give some criticism for, but I don't think either team really felt like they played um, anywhere near perfectly the entire game.
That game
I
was a mess, but it was
It was
amazing.
it was a complete disaster. Yeah, once the roof is off, it's just like you can't really go too crazy analyzing any of this shit. So
They're playing on a very, very nice pond. Like that's it. I understand that it was cold. It's still not like freeze ice cold outside. They're playing on a Slurpee that was dumped onto a piece of concrete in the center of the ACL tear capital of the world. I I,
yeah,
I think there are a lot of things you can take from that game that were good. I think mentally, especially, you can take a lot of things from that. But like from a technical standpoint, from a structural standpoint, I don't want to like shit on anybody for that game. And
yeah.
like you can see the shadows hitting the players midway through the second period where they're just getting blinded because it looked clear. Like it
hmm
didn't look cloud overcast. I wasn't there. Like it looked very bright and sunny. So I cannot imagine that was the most conducive way to play hockey.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was there like I mentioned, and I feel for the goalies. I really do. It might not be as easy. I mean, watching the highlights, it definitely didn't look like it, but I mean, the ice was beyond reflective. I just want to say that, like the lighting from the broadcast, you can't really tell. But for the first probably period and a half, I was like squinting just because it didn't matter where you were in the stadium or what. The sun was just beaming on that sheet of ice, and it was just like bouncing directly into your eyes. So we didn't really get that great of a goalie game from either one of them, and it can't be overstated how much that plays a factor. Like it's not an excuse. I mean, both of these goalies, it was 6-5, guys. Like the two elite goalies, and it was 6-5. It definitely mattered a lot. And other than that, it's like I said, it's just it's an environment most of these guys have never ever played in before. So if it's a little bit more difficult to track the puck, or especially on the ice, I can't imagine the ice was all that great. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. There's a lot of things that play into it. Um, I definitely just want to put out there that I am beyond impressed by the way the Rangers bounced back in that game. Like it was over like three separate times. So
Dude, the vibes were immaculate after 2 minutes. And then shame that other things happened. The first 2 minutes of that game were electric.
oh yeah, yeah. I thought the Rangers were gonna win 8-0. Okay, the first 2 minutes I was like, oh, they're gonna win 8-0, and then the next 10 minutes I was like, oh, they're gonna lose like 8-1, and then and then it just kind of kept going back and forth. Um, yeah, I want to just, by the way, going back to everything I just mentioned, I think the Barzal goal.
Uh huh.
I think it was that one. Like the 3-1 goal.
Yep.
Um, nobody in that stadium could see anything. Like if you go back and listen to or just watch the highlight of that goal, it took like a hot minute for the crowd to react because we were all just like squinting. Like the sun was beaming down on the ice that hard. So the only reason I'm mentioning that is because you're picture yourself as Igor Shesterkin trying to stop hockey pucks with that. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh.
I guess the one critique you could have is the Rangers definitely needed to do a better job of weathering the storm of that because they just gave up way too many chances for the first couple periods. Especially when your goalie can't really see. You definitely want to stop that. But I mean, you can rag on Igor all you want for that game. I like if you were there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, I didn't even know that the Islanders scored there because the sun was beaming into my eyes from the ice, and then the Islanders goal horn went off. I was like, oh, damn it. I don't know what happened.
Oh. That's like it sounds awful. And also, it was not a well goalied game. That could have been higher scoring. Like, Shesterkin and Sorokin both still made some ridiculous saves throughout the game. Like, they were not good, either one of them, but also, that could have been 10 to 9. Like, very easily. I can think of a few moments where I'm like, yeah, Shesterkin, he made a really good one there, and Sorokin robbed whoever on that one. Like, that was madness. The 1-0 goal made you feel great, and then you had... This was one thing that I wanted to touch on, and I mentioned it in the group chat. Matt Rempe got into a fight 1 second into his NHL career, which is wild to me. That
Yeah.
Upon... Like, first off, not that he got into a fight, because everyone knew that that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was more that Matt Martin, on the first shift for Rempe, was just like, well, time to fight. Like, that is... Listen, I understand that Matt Martin is known for fighting and known for being physical and hitting. What goes through the mind of a veteran to look at a rookie who is walking onto the ice for the first time and being like, yeah, you. Yeah, you. Not Gaudreau, who's been there for a while.
Who he's very familiar with. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I'm also, I mean, with that whole topic, I'm also willing to put a lot of money. Rempe had a lot to do with that altercation, because if you know anything about this guy in Hartford, he gets into like at least one fight per game down there, and he openly said after this game that fighting is fun, and he has it's like the most fun part of hockey for him. So I think he had a lot to do with it, but I also think it's really funny, and I don't know if you're even aware of this. Rempe had 5 penalty minutes and 4 minutes 26 of ice time,
That's so
which
good.
I think he's such a rock star for that.
Dude.
He really is such a rock star.
Dude, when he
didn't have a shirt under the jersey. It was so cold.
Dude, Matt Rempe he can be here forever. I don't care if he's on the roster forever. Vibes guy. Keep him in the locker room. What a dude to have there. Like, it was ridiculous. The fact that a rookie on his first shift, I understand he didn't get a takedown of Martin. He beat the piss out of him. Like, he hammered him. Martin might have gotten, like, one lick in, as Rempe just beat him into the dust, and then starts hyping up the crowd on his skate to the box. He's been on the ice for 1 second. That was one of the funniest moments I have ever watched for this team, as he just... Like, who does that?
Yeah.
Has there been a rookie whose first shift was a fight?
Maybe in like the 80s, where that stuff was just like expected of you.
You fought
but
when you
I also
got
want to say, it's. I mean, I know he took a rookie lap in like the last game, where I think it's the Montreal game where like he suited up but he didn't play. That doesn't count. Like, his first rookie lap was in the Stadium Series at MetLife Stadium. I think that's like unbelievable.
Bruh.
But yeah, I was like shocked right after the first Rangers goal too. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna win 8-0. But yeah, Matt Martin, I think that doesn't look good for him, right? Because it's like, you got to think, it's a rookie that hasn't even touched a puck yet in an NHL game. You got to think he's like shaking in his skates, and you kind of got like ragdolled a little bit.
That's so bad. Also, this has nothing to do with anything. That line consisted of 2 guys who were 6'7", and then you have Gaudreau in the middle at 6'2". Like, Gaudreau's a big guy. Imagine being 6'2" and being a mouse on your line.
Yeah, it's pretty funny,
With
and I also don't
2
understand
9-foot-tall toddlers.
in the team picture they took. I don't know why they put Laugh in between those two. Like, whose idea was that? Because he looks like...
Wait, what?
They put Laugh in between Edstrom and Rempe in the picture.
I've got to look at that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I definitely just want to talk about how unbelievable yesterday was. I think that's an all time. You see it?
Oh my god.
I
That's
don't know whose idea that was.
God bless whoever did that. I love that
Yeah.
photography. That's so good.
I mean, being there was special, but I think that's a all time Rangers game
Oh,
ever. Especially with the comeback and everything. I just I'm very excited for. I'm sure we're gonna get more outdoor games, especially after how the entire fan base just rocked MetLife. I think it was also pretty interesting that you saw like Spit and Chicklets and Bleacher Report and the NHL social media. They were all saying like the Rangers fans came to really cheer yesterday,
mm.
and not that I'm necessarily trying to knock on the Devils, but I am a little bit because for the entire hockey world to be like, wow, that was way louder than last night after our game. I'm definitely pretty proud of our fan base for that because the Devils game was loud, kind of, but like yesterday was unbelievable.
Dude.
It's also probably the loudest MetLife Stadium's been in a while. So
I have a great statistic for you, which is that now MetLife has hosted more NHL games than playoff games.
didn't even think of that. Oh my god.
Yeah, you can enjoy that.
um, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't need to hear that. That's hysterical though. But okay, if we talk too much about that, we're gonna get into a deep dive into the New York Jets.
This is
So
gonna go
let's
a very
not put
different
our
direction.
listeners through that. Um,
Oh,
I guess yeah. With the stadium series, let's just talk about. First of all, let's talk about all the fun stuff. So, the Islanders jerseys terrible,
awful.
god awful,
Who?
like legitimately zero effort put in whatsoever.
The New York Oilers looked great over there. Like that was.
That's so bad. They were so bad. I mean, if they just put like the fisherman logo on it,
I was gonna
I'd be
say,
like,
how do
okay,
you
cool.
not?
They did something.
Like,
Yeah.
do anything. Like the Devils had their cool straight black on the red, which looked. I understand it's the Devils, but that was a very nice looking jersey.
hmm
The Rangers, I thought was a super I loved the Rangers jersey. I think we said this in the last one. I thought the Rangers jersey was just immaculate.
hmm
The Flyers are fine. Like it's a Flyers jersey. What do you expect?
Yeah.
At least the other three teams can boast that they had a logo. You had nothing. You didn't even
Yeah.
have a stylized font. Like you
Yeah,
just
like-
had that Ray Dunn ass looking jersey that was just bold-faced letter. Did the eye even have like the little top hat and shoes for that jersey? It was the most boring as sin. And like I love that style. I love the color scheme. Like orange and blue look good together. But that just looked like you went into Word document. Typed out aisles. And by the way, of the three teams there, I understand that like the Rangers kind of have the nickname of the Blue Shirts. I'm not particularly familiar if the Flyers or Devils have a nickname. To land on
I think
aisles,
the Flyers is just like the Broad Street Bullies, but I haven't really heard them be called that since like I don't even know. So
like 2004, it's been
yeah, but since
forever.
whenever Scott Hartnell was like in his prime, that's the last time I heard them be called that.
like just aisles. That's dude. Like you could have the fisherman jersey looks so good. You could have brought back the teal fisherman, but no, you just go with all right. You see that Oilers jersey? That looks good. Let's do that. It's just
Yeah, yeah. That was awful. I really just can't believe how. I mean, I will say the colors kind of look cool together, but I just I can't believe like if I were an Islanders fan, I wouldn't be buying that. Like, what? Seriously, what's the point? I'd rather just buy like the hoodie that says like Islanders hockey on it for the Stadium Series. I don't know why you would spend the money on a jersey that literally has nothing to it whatsoever. Um,
I will say really quickly, I went like skating today, and as I'm like halfway through a lap, I look into the lobby and in walks a Matthew Barzal jersey. And I'm just like, my time has come. I had never been so happy
hilarious.
to see a man walk in. He did not have a good time. Like,
I'm sure of it. Yeah. With that game, I'm very interested to see how they continue to play after that, because I know a lot of the players were very emotional about it. I mean, Panarin said he was almost in tears before the game. I don't think he's ever played in an outdoor game, which kind of surprises me, just because I feel like he was like on
for cold teams.
Yeah, but I mean, just being that he was on Chicago and they've had like 90 million outdoor games,
getting another one.
Which, by the way, Blues Blackhawks has already happened already. Like, I think maybe even twice outside. So what are we doing? We're let's just cut that off before we go into too much of a rabbit hole. But yeah, I mean, it was fantastic that the Rangers actually won the game, just from the anticipation and the buildup of just getting an outdoor game. I definitely think that was the craziest crowd I've ever been a part of, because I mean, I think it was 79,000 people, which that's basically eight. Yeah, like eight. That's pretty much 80,000. That's almost max capacity for MetLife. I mean, that was insane to be a part of, and just especially seeing how much everyone in the stadium cared. I mean, Islanders fans, Rangers fans, everyone, because we've known about this game for, I think, like a year now, right? Or at least since like right after the playoffs. So there's been a lot of anticipation, a lot of buildup. And I mean, that was one of the most insane endings to a game I've ever seen. I will say, like I said, I don't want to truly deep dive into analytics for the game, just because it really doesn't matter. Just being that it's outside, like, all bets are off. But I think this is going to be the turning point for the power play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they came through twice, or what? 3 power play goals?
They had 3 power play goals, but the 2 at the end with like less than 4 to play, getting a pair was massive.
Yeah, I think for them to come through in the clutch just fully reignited the confidence in them. So that's, I mean, we'll see how it shakes out, but I think they absolutely needed that. Even if it were just a regular game, like let's say we just played the Islanders at MSG, yesterday, yeah. I think if they did the same thing, regardless of the circumstance, if they had 3 power play goals, that's the turning point for them. And now it's even more so, just being that it was in the clutch, outdoors. That was unbelievable. I also want to say, what was Noah Dobson doing in overtime? What was that? Dude,
okay. That might have been the most disrespectful goal Artemi Panarin has ever scored in his career. That was... He bitched the entire Isles team in 10 seconds. He embarrassed every Islander on the ice in 10 seconds. Like, that is impressive. Because he breaks up the win off the face-off. He undresses Barzal to get to the puck, or like to get around him to go pressure Noah Dobson. He bats the air out of midair, or the puck out of midair. Undresses Sorokin, and then banks the puck off of Dobson and Sorokin to win in overtime. You gotta just fold after that.
Yeah.
Like, how can you go to the dressing room?
Yeah, especially like letting your teammates down like that when everybody's freezing their toes off. I was like, dude. But that was insane. I think the pure shock going through me when that puck went in overtime, I was like, oh my god, that's actually unbelievable what we just witnessed. But I was, once the game was over and I had a little bit to think about it, I'm like, why would Noah Dobson just throw it at Panarin in overtime?
My guy, It's 3-on-3 overtime to give you more space. And you look ahead of you. You have no one to either direction. Dump it behind the net, for God's sakes. Like, buddy, there are so many choices that you could make. And you just throw it towards the possible Hart nominee and hope for the best. That's the decision you make, by the way. Artemi Panarin's going to end up with like 110, 120 points. He might not get nominated for the Hart. And that's not a knock to like the voting committee. That is how good this season's been.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Panarin,
yeah, I mean, I think McKinnon and Kucherov are like on a record pace right now, so
McDavid's always going to be behind them. Like, Austin Matthews might actually score 70 goals and Panarin might get 120 points and they're going to finish like 4th and 5th. That's going to be dumb.
Yeah, it's absurd how much this sport has evolved offensively. Like, we used to have guys like Danny Carcillo being like key pieces to hockey teams, and those days are kind of over. But Panarin's been ridiculous. I think it was pretty impactful just seeing how emotional he was in the postgame yesterday, because I mean, it means a lot to us as fans especially when they win a game like that. And we talk a lot about the anticipation and whatnot, but the players, this is really, you never know when you're going to play in your next outdoor game, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it could be 2 years that you might never get another one again, so you want to win it, and you definitely want to play well in it and make an impact. So, like I said before, I was just shocked that he hasn't played in one, or at least to my knowledge, but it was cool for I think him and Mika got like really emotional in the post game, which was pretty cool to see from both of them, especially for all the players have their family there, and it's a whole spectacle.
I mean, even Laviolette looked emotional when they got the win.
Oh yeah, I think that's his first one.
Yeah, he was 0-5.
I think he's like 0
entering.
Wow, yeah. Like, I mean, I haven't seen that much emotion from him yet, so that was cool.
It was. I want to talk about one more goal before we get to like the final 3 and the last 2-minute comeback. The Alexander Romanov goal, aka the Lindgren injury goal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was a dirty play with the stick. I didn't like the shove into the boards. That was the problem that I had.
Yeah, we got to get rid of that in this game. It's we talk about it so much. It's insane. You don't hit guys in the numbers. Like, really just anywhere near the boards, you're really not supposed to do anything risky like that. It just seems like it's always Lindgren. Every time.
And like, it's hard to be mad about the goal from a Ranger perspective, because you have Romanov who's wide open because Lindgren's laying dead next to the boards. Like, he's not going to get that wide open of an opportunity if Lindgren's there, and that felt like that could have been the moment, because they had made the comeback to make it a 1-goal game. I thought the Romanov goal was like, all right, that's lights. This is where it ends. But then you have the final 2 minutes. And that's not to discredit if you wanted to talk about either of the first 2 Trocheck goals. We can do that real quick. But then the last 5 minutes are where the game really lies.
Yeah, Trocheck was great in this game. I think he played one of the best games I've ever seen him play. Just for a 200-foot game perspective. In terms of the last few minutes, I think we'd be having a much different serious conversation if those guys didn't come through there, right? Yeah. Because all we've done really on this podcast is beg the top guys to come through when it matters. And I know this is not the playoffs. I know this is, technically a meaningless game, just for standings, sake. But that is moments like that. All of your top guys are out there. They have to make their mark. Especially when you have guys like Mika struggling, leading up to the past week or so. Like, you need guys like that to come through. If they didn't, like I said, we'd be having a much different conversation, because it'd be the same thing all over again where, it's tough losing to a rival, and we'd be saying, well, our top guys didn't do what they were supposed to. Thankfully, we don't have to have that conversation. I was just pretty impressed by the fact that, I mean, it's the same power play obviously, but I just feel like they really locked in those, last few minutes. Like throughout a lot of the game, they had a bunch of power play opportunities. I just feel like in this game they really locked in, and there was almost no stopping them. So
I think Panarin on the Kreider power play goal, he was dominating play
mhm.
on that power play, and I want to say he had either 3 or 4 shots in the final 30 seconds of the power play. It was I have never seen Panarin quarterback a power play like that in my life. He was just dominating the play of that, and then to finally have him break through with the Kreider tip was massive. Again, I regularly scheduled. Chris Kreider is probably the best net front guy in the past 20, 30 years, easily the best in Rangers history. He's going to get 30 again. He went his entire career without getting 30, and then a couple of years ago just said, hey, what if? Hear me out. I did it every year.
Yeah.
I want to say 100 and... because I just looked it up. I want to say 120 of his career, 290 goals have come in the past 2+ seasons. It's stupid.
Yeah. And it's pretty cool thinking about how long he's been with the team, because I mean he's been with the Rangers since I was in elementary school, but it's weird because it almost feels like two players, right? Like for the first few years he was scoring 18 goals a year or something like that,
Yeah.
and then once this core got together, he's just exploded.
It's been absurd. You had so in the first 573 games, he had 177 goals from 2013 to 2021. And now you have in the past 3 years 116 goals in 215 games. He's and credit, I will say this, I am not going to say a lot of nice things about Gerard Gallant. I think he messed up a lot of development for a lot of different players. Finding that Kreider could be a McDavid if you use him net front was a revelation, and you've seen that. And he was unbelievable in 21-22 with the 52 goals. Last year he took a bit of a step back but still scored 36. He's 2 points away from his season total from last season right now in points. He's at 52. He had 54 all of last year. He's probably going to get over 35 goals. I think that's a pretty safe assumption. He's at 30 or 28 right now. And he's on one again. He's scored quite a few over the past few games. I know that's kind of helped with the hat trick, but he had 2 against Chicago, or 1 against Chicago. He had 1 in this game against the Islanders. The hat trick. He's looking like 21-22 Kreider again. And he's one of them. We're going to talk about all 3 of them, I would imagine. But he's one of them that you really want to see heating up heading into the playoffs, which is weird to say heat up because he kind of doesn't shoot the puck. He just stands perfectly in front of it. But he is a person that you want locked in heading into the playoffs, and he's looking locked in recently.
Yeah, and I mean, for Kreider specifically, it does anger me a lot when people act like it's easy what he does.
My guy.
I can't even put into words how valuable it is to have a guy like that on your team, because I mean, I know this might be insane to say, and I know there's a lot of bias that goes into this, but I can't think of a better net front player ever. Just purely net front presence, I don't know who's better, because the only other one is Pavelski, and Kreider is a lot better than him in that aspect. I know it's a lot closer than I'm probably making it seem, but I can't think of anybody that's been better just at deflections and being just a beast in front of the net.
People that try to tell you that, his job is easy, he just stands in front of it. Give a baseball player a piece of rebar and tell him to go hit. See how it goes. It's the same principle. He has a thin little stick that he has to hold perfectly to deflect it into this 3 foot by 3 foot spot in which there is a guy basically wearing 50 pounds of padding in front of. It is not this cakewalk. And also, I will say this, if it were that easy, why doesn't everyone have a 30-goal scorer standing in front of the net?
I was just gonna get to that too. Like, yeah, if it were just a lock that every team had, then it wouldn't be a big deal at all. But most teams don't have anybody close to that at all. So,
like, I'm not trying to make everything about the Leafs, and I'm actually going to give them credit. Matthew Nyes this season for them has been a good net front guy. He has like 8 goals because he's not scoring them. He's just being a pain in the ass in front of it. It's not easy to deflect everything in. Like, there's skill that you need to do that.
yeah, absolutely. And I think for Kreider, he's always kind of been a guy that's like needed elite talent around him to truly showcase his skill set. He has a lot of speed. His hands aren't really that great, but he's great at deflecting. He's a big guy. I'd say this might be a crazy statement, right? But I think Adam Fox is probably an upgrade over Dan Boyle as a power play quarterback, or the many, many, many different guys that the Rangers tried during Kreider's years, or early years at least, like Kevin Shattenkirk. They've tried Mark Stahl. They've tried Ryan McDonough. I'd say Adam Fox is a lot better than them. So,
I hate that you've said this. I hate that... Not that you said it, because that's fine. I hate that you reminded me of this. That's the sentence I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's what the Rangers
God.
were looking for years. Is just a power play quarterback. They didn't have a power play for years and years and years. So...
God. Sorry, I just need to mentally recoup from that. Speaking of a power play quarterback in Adam Fox, you then, with about a minute and a half left, you get the Mika goal.
Yeah,
Underrated
which
was the laugh pass through like 5 guys in front to get it to Fox.
Mm-hmm.
And then the beautiful little shoulder fake pass by Fox and Mika from that angle. I thought it when he got the one-timer against Montreal. The one-timer's back, guys. I have really good news. He found it. And by God.
Yeah, and Sorokin was like inches away from stopping it too, by the way.
That would have been... That would have been on... That screen grab would have been a poster on every wall in Long Island.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was... like I said, the main takeaway I have from this, the only thing I'm going to analyze in terms of the true on-ice hockey game stuff, is just I think the power play's back, for sure. I mean, 3 power play goals, and they just looked way more comfortable. And they needed a game where they dominated, right? Like, it's been so long since they really had that. We still have to see how it carries over, but I think they needed a game like that desperately. Especially now that they've won 7 in a row. Like, if this power play truly gets back to where they're supposed to be, I don't know if they'll ever lose again. So, other than that, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, the most encouraging thing for me, the takeaway that I get from the game yesterday was, you can say a lot about the NHL and how they marketed the game, because I don't think they did well, whether it be with the game itself or the merchandise, cough jerseys for it, was incredibly subpar. Hey, it's not like we had to go through hell and high water to get a jersey for the game, right, Evan? That was easy to find. They were everywhere.
But, yeah, by the way, when I was walking around yesterday, they did have some of the jerseys, but it was just mainly stands with just basic gray Stadium Series hoodies. So
that's so depressing.
Yeah, it was. I can't believe it.
Great job, guys.
Other than that, I guess, like I said before, the trade deadline's in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So as of right now, I'm pretty much only thinking about wingers and wingers only.
Yeah.
So
Tyler Mott's a winger, right?
I mean, he could do whatever we want him to at this point. We talk about him like he's Wayne Gretzky. So
oh, he can put him in net.
Yeah, it's We talk about him like he's Mark Messier for some reason. So they're gonna trade for him again.
Okay, so like funny thing before I talk about the next few games that are coming up. Do you want to know how many points he has as a Ranger?
Probably like 4.
He has 5 goals and 34 points in total. Good for him.
Really?
Wait, does that include playoffs?
It has to.
There's
It
no
absolutely
shot at
has to.
Wait, how?
It has to.
What did he do in the Yoffs? Wait a minute.
Oh, dude, he was good. He was really good.
Yeah, because
But I didn't think it was 34.
he had 10 points in 33 games in his 2 years. 5 goals and 5 assists. What did he do in the Yoffs? Wait a minute.
Wait, that 34
2
cannot
goals.
be right.
What? Okay, no. What did they do to me?
I mean, even if it's 10 points, it's a lot more than I thought.
My
34
God.
or whatever you said it would be absurd.
My guy, there is something whack with them. Because, yeah, he does not have that. He's got 2 points in the playoffs. They were both goals. Good for him. And 10 regular season points. So what? No. Is that just like... Oh, I think they might have just put him as a Ranger for the entire season of those 2 years. And not like, oh, he started here and ended there. Because I was looking on Spot Track. Because I was about to say, wait a minute, when did he do that?
Yeah.
He played like 9 games. No, he has 10 points. But he's coming back. It is not a question, my dear friends, of if, it is when. It's the lot in life. And I can't wait for them to make a blockbuster trade as I'm not around. It's going to be great.
Yeah, they're gonna trade for him every single year for the rest of his career, and they're gonna retire his number.
Which one?
Yeah, all of them. Just a row of Mott's in MSG.
It's going to be so good.
Yeah. Other than that, in terms of the wingers, there's really not too much that I'm. We talked about it before.
Guy on the
I
Red
think
Wings,
on the
other
last
than
episode
that.
a little bit. Yeah, oh my God, let's stop doing that. Frank Vetrano's a name that I know everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hate Jordan Eberle.
No.
I really wouldn't. I don't think I'm too happy with his offensive output of this year, but I know he's got great defensive numbers. I'd be cool with just somebody to throw up there, especially, I mean, if we get one more injury on the right wing, I really don't know what we're going to do. So
at that point, you might look at some of the defensemen and be like, you play right defense, right wing's not too far different.
yeah.
Because didn't one of the Leafs have to play defense in their most recent game? Like, I'm pretty sure that is
Oh,
a
I'm
thing
sure.
that happened.
There's all kinds of crazy things going on in Toronto at all times. So
to briefly look at the little schedule that we have, you have Dallas at home tomorrow night, and then you're on the road Thursday and Saturday, in Jersey to take on the Devils, and in Philly to take on the Flyers. That's
okay. The Devils is that's a big one. That's circled, right?
I would greatly appreciate winning that game.
Yeah, Dallas. I'm pretty sure the Rangers got destroyed the last time we played them.
That was like something ridiculous. I want to say it was like close to maybe 5-1. Something close to that feels right.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think we had like 2 garbage time goals though, so it was more like 6-1. If I remember it correctly, it was something like that.
Not what I wanted to hear from, actually.
Yeah, they're definitely a good team, so we'll see. But the Devils one is definitely circled.
Then you have the Flyers.
Which I mean they're good right this year, but we like also just kind of smack them every single time. So
you have the return of John Tortorella coming back.
It's in MSG.
No!
That should be
no,
fun.
no! We are going to. We get to see John Tortorella again.
Yeah, we get to see him scream and yell as usual.
Is Kreider the only Ranger that he coached? That's left
on the current team? Yes,
Man.
Yes. Yeah, because VZ was after Tortorella. Yeah, it's just Kreider.
Man.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that long since Torts has been here, but it's definitely been a while.
I miss Torts. Like,
Yeah.
I understand he is not the direction they should have gone this offseason, but also, have you considered that he is unbelievable to listen to? Like, I just...
Oh, I listen to every post game like ever that he's ever had.
I could
It's
listen
hilarious.
to that.
I think it's so funny. The reporter that it's whatever the reporter did that went down with Cutter Gauthier.
Oh my god.
Ever since then, Tortorella looks him dead in the eyes and says, "I'm not answering your questions." It's been like a month. For a month straight, the guy like stands up and he's like, so about today," and he's like, "I'm not taking your questions." I'm like, I love this guy so much.
Side note,
It's so funny.
I'm not trying to like dunk on a child because I want to say he's like 18 years old. Imagine looking at the Flyers who are currently in a playoff spot and saying, "I want to go to Anaheim."
Hey, listen, I hate Philadelphia, so I'm a big Cutter Gauthier guy. I'm all in. I'm all in on him, bro. All in.
Ducks in 30th place.
It's okay. It's okay. Anywhere's better than Philly. I'm all in on him, bro. I promise.
I just realized that of the... this is a great thing. So the two outdoor games... I swear this is the last rabbit hole I'm going to go down. The two outdoor games that are scheduled next year are going to be home games for the 32nd and 29th ranked teams in the standings right now. That's great. That's cool. Good choice. Good idea.
Yeah. That's hysterical. I don't understand why we're doing these things.
The NHL's so good at marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, other than that, I don't have much else to say. I just think it was yesterday was definitely a moment we should all cherish forever. Whether you were there or not, that's an all-time moment that you really don't get to see too often, especially as a fan of the team that won the game. Like, it's one thing if it was just two random teams playing and I was watching it. It's different being there and experiencing that. That's something I'm none of us are really going to forget. So
unbelievable game. Like, that is an all-time Rangers memory, and it clearly it meant something to them. They played to win that game, and it was just outside of maybe the Game 7 to the Penguins, that might be one of my favorite memories of a Rangers game. Like, it was unbelievable to see that game play out. But yeah, I think I've said my piece. So until we return, until next time, that is all we have to say. So thank you all for watching the 25th episode of the Rangers Game Plan podcast. If you enjoyed, please consider to like and subscribe. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. Hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. And as always, go Rangers.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Go Rangers.